hello, everybody. I am thrilled to be back with you live on the air. Whether or not you're live on the air with us, I am thrilled. You know, many of you know that last week we were blocked from being on with you live, and Todd very graciously uploaded some shows to replay. But this is not a replay. This is live, in person, new program. And the program is Don't Let Your Spirituality Block Your common sense. Ooh. Them's is fighting words. Sure is. So I'm going to explain what I mean, and I think you'll see how incredibly relevant it is to today. So, to me, now of course these are my opinions. Feel free to disagree with anything that I say ever, right?
Oh, by the way, we haven't introduced ourselves.
Oh,
You are?
Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks.
And I am James Maynard, otherwise known as Sweet Baby James, and you have come to Lighting the Way with Granny Raps and Rocks.
Excellent, and we already have a comment.
Yes, Amy is here and says, "Hi, Beth and James. This sounds intriguing."
Ooh, I like
Granny.
that. Join the intrigue. So I want to start out, there's more.
And Karen is here. It says, "Good seeing you." She sends a heart of love. And Catalina sends a big heart of love. Thank you, Catalina.
Okay,
And
fabulous.
Thank you,
Karen,
Oh.
and thank you,
And Karen
Catalina.
also sent a correction on one of her words.
Okay, wonderful.
And then Tracy says hello and got a big wave and a big heart of love as well. Thank you, Tracy.
Hello, Tracy. Well, it's so nice to be welcomed back live by live people. We so appreciate it. So, to me, as I say, you can disagree with me. I won't agree with you, but you can we have one more.
Elizabeth says hi and sends 2 hearts of love. Thank you, Elizabeth.
All right.
Double the love.
Yay. Thank you, Elizabeth. Oh, lovely, lovely. So, to me, spirituality is about being empowered. And when I say it's about being empowered, it means that we connect to the divine in order to be empowered. Now, what does it mean? Well, for example, connecting to the divine in order to be able to endure difficult times. And connecting to the divine in order to be empowered to fight when we're supposed to. And to be empowered to be honest with ourselves, to look within, and to develop self-awareness so that together we can co-create a better world. And we have
and Todd
one
is
more.
here and says hi and sends caring and the heart of love as well.
Thank you, Todd. Oh, so nice to have you all on tonight. So I wanted to make clear what I mean by spirituality so that you would get a sense of what I'm talking about, my concept, right? So that we're not talking, across each other. So many people feel empowered by the divine energy, whether you experience it in nature or you go to a church or a synagogue or a mosque or a temple, and you just feel imbued by some incredibly high spirit, higher consciousness, and more awareness, more sense of oneness with the universe. That is very, very empowering. But unfortunately, for many of us, our spiritual beliefs are not empowering. They are disempowering. And so that's what I want to talk about. I'm not going to talk about all the good goo-goo stuff. I'm talking about the stuff that's disempowering, because it's even just like cuts us off from our common sense. Now, let me give you some examples. I could go on all day or all night, but you probably would tune out. So let me just give you a couple of examples. So I want to start with something very simple that can be dumb, and it's about fasting. I grew up in the Jewish religion, and we were, in fact, it's almost Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, and you're supposed to fast from sundown to sundown. Okay. Now, when I was a little girl, everybody in the family was fasting. I was sick. I was really sick. I was too weak. And the doctor said, don't fast. And I felt terrible about that, because somehow everybody else was fasting. It was a spiritual prerogative that requirement that you be fasting to atone for your sins and all of that stuff. I was weighed too, but let me put it a little bit clearer. I didn't get that message from the doctor right away. I had to get to the point that I would have fallen down fasting in order to get permission that I should be fasting. So this is a very, very easy example to understand, right? We just forget about our common sense, what we know to be true, and yet so many of us do things that hurt our bodies that are connected to our religion or our spirituality. And in fact, there were times when people thought that it was really ennobling to beat yourself with ropes in order to make yourself more holy. Yeah, it made you more holy. Your back had holes in it, and that made you more holy. It did not make you more holy to beat yourself. It just made you more sick, more emotionally ill, and twisted on the inside.
Suffering
In the name of the Lord. Exactly. Like life is not enough suffering all by itself. So these have been, and I'm talking about spiritual beliefs, like not too many people today will go around beating themselves to make themselves more holy, but that was considered normal at one time. So you can see that not being in your common sense is pretty old, because there's really no connection between hurting yourself and beating yourself and being more enlightened. None. I mean, absolutely none. So, and I want to tell you something else that was a religious belief. And I'm not trying to pick on the Catholics, because I can pick on everybody. Slavery, right? So, according to the church's teachings, it was okay to enslave black people because they had the option of embracing Jesus and rejected it. And that was the justification for enslaving black people. Whereas there was no justification for enslaving Native American people, because they had never had the opportunity to reject Jesus. So all you had to do is put them in systems where they still had no power, but they weren't slaves, right? Now, none of that makes any sense, does it? I mean, when you look at these things, you realize that what they are is many times rationalizations for human beings disempowering one another. So fasting when you're sick disempowers us. Beating yourself to make yourself more holy disempowers you. But so many beliefs have been justifications for disempowering other people, and they still are. We have to have, in this country is supposed to be based on a separation of church and state, but not anymore, because you're supposed to have Bibles in school now. And there are other things like that. And this is based on, people can pretend that these are based on religious mandates or spiritual beliefs, but nothing of the sort. It's really about certain people dominating other people. Now, I'm going to go to a whole different kind of no common sense, and it is being compassionate at all costs. Well, what's wrong with that? How can you dare say being compassionate is bad?
Pray tell.
Well, for example, let us say that you are aware that a person in a family is molesting their child. Okay. You really need to have compassion for that person. That person is not well. Right? But first of all, you have to protect that child from the molester. But some people are so wrapped up in looking spiritual that they are so torn up, they're being compassionate, but they're not protecting the child. See, again, this is an example of somebody being disempowered. You're disempowering yourself, and you're letting some bully injure somebody. And the same thing could be that someone who's injuring you, somebody who beats you, or somebody who psychologically hurts you. And are you supposed to be compassionate all the time? Well, you might think so, but no. First, you have to stop the abuse. And then the minute you stop the abuse, you can be compassionate. But you can't allow the abuse to continue. So are you beginning to get the idea of what I'm talking about? How our spiritual beliefs can totally disempower us and can also promote our disempowering others. Like, oh, you should accept this, or you should accept that, or they should accept this, their lot, or it's better for them to suffer in silence, or whatever. Now, one of the most obvious examples of this is women should obey men. Whoever came up with that idea? Why should women obey men? Why? Where's the common sense in that? Women automatically are born without brains. I mean, we watch one of the presidential candidates insulting the other one by calling her dumb because it's a woman. Well, you can say that about women. They're just dumb.
Even though she was highly educated and accomplished.
And to me is way more intelligent than he is, since he doesn't make sense half the time. But you're allowed to say that about women. It's just assumed. Why? Because women are supposed to be beneath men. And that runs through so many different religions and spiritual belief systems. Why? Where's the common sense in that? In fact, one of the things that is so...
and here we have another comment. Muhammad says, being spiritual makes one feel relieved and as if healed of all ills. Adam.
Sometimes, but use a little common sense there. Do you, just because you're spiritual, do you feel relieved of all ills? I don't think so. I believe that that's a belief that disempowers you. Maybe you, now I'm not talking about you particularly, but let's say a person believes that. It reminds me of people who do just faith healing. Right? And they
flying
will...
in the face of common sense.
Flying in the face of common sense. Now, I am not saying that positive thinking can't help you, but sometimes it's not going to cure cancer, and you're going to be devastated by the illness and pretend that there's nothing wrong. See, It's not common sense. If you're going to be amidst a pandemic, it's very likely that you're going to get sick, no matter what you think. Yet people continue in our day and age to believe that if you think a certain way, this isn't going to happen to you, right?
Or that something is going to happen. You're going to manifest.
That's another one. Let's get to that in a second. You can pick up on that. So, there's the flood. The flood is coming, and you say, well, God will protect me. Okay, maybe, or maybe you're going to be stranded on the roof. And then all these other people are going to have to go out of their way to rescue you from the roof because you refuse to come down, because you just believe that you're above everything because you're spiritual. That is really not common sense. James, did you want to talk about?
One of the things that's very current these days is the belief that you can manifest whatever you want.
Or at least it was current. It's a little.
And that you can, that you create your reality. You create what happens in your world. And I used to subscribe to that. So I went out and decided I'd like to have a Camaro car. Good looking car. And so I put a picture of the Camaro up on the board. And sure enough, I manifested a Camaro car. First I manifested some money that enabled me to buy the car. So then I sure enough got that car, but guess what? It was the whole wrong thing. It got very bad gas mileage. It turned out to be 12 and a half miles to the gallon. What was I? I wasn't thinking. I wasn't using common sense. I wasn't using, what do you call it? Diligence.
Right. Do your due diligence.
Check everything out to make sure that common sense is satisfied.
That's right. So put forward your most positive thinking, but use common sense. God once told me that all decisions should be made at the intersection of intuition, which is connecting to your spirituality, observation, experience, and common sense. And I felt so deflated. I mean, that's...
Yeah, you're intuitive. So
I'm intuitive. That's not
you need all the other stuff.
Well, because you do. And so, yes, exactly. I would call that pray or believe, and it will be so. Well, it isn't. How many of you, for instance, have faced things like a sick parent, and you're told to pray, and you pray, and sometimes the parent recovers, and sometimes the parent dies. And somehow or other you say, what happened? How come this happened? I didn't pray right. I wasn't good enough in my prayer, or I didn't believe enough. I need to believe more. I need to, right? And that is very harmful. So now I'm going to hit you up with one more. Okay.
What's that?
Another comment.
Oh, yeah, here we do have another comment. Muhammad has this to say. Spirituality is something given as a blessing from saints or from our innermost part. Should we accept or welcome it or reject it, dear madam?
Well, as I said in the beginning, I don't know if you were here at the very beginning, Muhammad, but I said that spirituality is connecting to the divine in order to empower us. If you are finding yourself being empowered by your spirituality, meaning you're more able to endure things, you're more able to resolve issues, you fight when you have to, and you grow in self-awareness, then that spirituality is working for you. But if the spirituality is full of lies, deceits, and nonsense, then you should reject it. That isn't rejecting God. That's not rejecting spirituality per se. It's rejecting certain beliefs that go along with it. And so I, for one, don't go along with that women should, be less than men, and that's the world order, And it's kind of ridiculous because women raise the children of the world. mostly, not that it should be that way, but it is mostly that way. So do you believe that therefore women should be not allowed to go to school, be kept ignorant? I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? I'm thinking about, of course, Afghanistan specifically, but there are many places where this is true. You know, the women who are raising the families are supposed to be ignorant and disempowered. I mean, look, let's face it. Male entitlement is something that men have conveniently used spirituality to reinforce. There's nothing in God that distinguishes between the feminine and the masculine. And I believe that's also true about being gay or trans or whatever you are. People use spiritual or religious ideas to dominate and hurt other people.
Oh, Muhammad also has to say, spirituality is a sign of saints, and I don't think we should reject it, dear madam.
Well, I never said that you should reject spirituality. I'm saying you should reject the stupidity that goes along with it. And the ideas...
when it flies in the face of common sense.
When it flies...
By the way, I used to have a spiritual guru that gave all sorts of guidance based on his authority. And that guidance resulted in my giving most of the money I earned to him and his organization. And also, I followed his guidance for me that I should quit the profession that I was in, which I was very gratified in that profession, and go back to practicing law, sit for the bar exam. And why was this? Well, common sense would have told me that, oh, he was trying to manipulate me to get his custody of his son. Not to mention to have an in-house attorney in his ashram to take care of other things, like getting a big settlement in a case that he was involved with.
Exactly. So we have to be aware when we're being manipulated. Now, sometimes the person who's manipulating us or oppressing us isn't even aware that they're doing it. But if you look deeply at things and you use some common sense, you'll notice things. You have to, just because you're spiritual doesn't mean you should stop observing, that you shouldn't notice things that are going on in your world and in yourself, that you shouldn't notice that there's a lot of hatred, that there's a lot of division that is going along with what this so-called spiritual, violence is going along with this so-called spirituality. Well, I want to, before I go on to my final and most important point, I want to ask you to do us a favor and like or love this show on Facebook and give us a thumbs up on YouTube and share these programs with people who need to hear them, whether they like it or not. And subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the notification button and follow us on Facebook and join our family and leave comments. You know, if you're hearing this after the show, please leave comments because I would love to hear how this applies to you. What kind of spiritual beliefs have you held onto or been indoctrinated into that were not common sense, that were actually harmful, and that we need to get rid of? So I want to conclude with one biggie. And the biggie is that God is perfect. And why do I say that is not common sense? Because the same people who say that God is perfect say that humanity, we humans, probably men, were made in the image of God. I rest my case. There is no common sense in that. God cannot be perfect and create us, and that we are made in the image of God.
Muhammad says, "Sir, your voice feels like it is drowning. Please turn it up to enable me to hear it clear."
Oh, good, James. A reminder to speak into the mic. Anyway, God is evolving. God is the totality of the universe in the process of evolution. God is evolving, and so am I. There is no need for us to hang on. It's like being a child that is hanging on to the illusion, see, this is no common sense, that there is some perfect father up there that is going to make everything okay and that we aren't going to have problems, that life isn't going to be a struggle, and that it isn't up to us to create a more perfect world and to spread kindness and caring throughout the planet. We can't wait for God, can we? Because God is an evolving concept. I don't even know if there is a God, but to me that's, it's some energy that keeps evolving, and I'm part of that universe, and I'm evolving too. And it's my responsibility to do my part. So, come back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and we will be playing Magical Improv, and God willing, we'll be here, and we'll have the internet and all that. And come back next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time for another Lighting the Way Granny Raps and Rocks. And don't forget to leave your comments.
And then tomorrow night, of course,
I just mentioned that.
So,
So please, if you're going to comment, it would be really good for you to give examples of how you've carried spiritual beliefs that are not commonsensical and that are disempowering to you or to others. So I think that's it for tonight. We made it.
Then, there we are.
Thank you for your support. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the loves and likes you've already given us, and for the loves and likes that are yet to come. And don't forget to share this. Tell people about this program. You're not going to get this just anywhere. So send them over to Lighting the Way, Granny Raps and Rocks.
There you go.
Thank you.
Hey, glad.